Truth. What is truth? Master Don, he is the man. He is a good friend of mine. He's a karate instructor, and he's in his early 60s. Man has a lot of wisdom, has lived a lot of life. I respect him a lot. He is one of the happiest, most fulfilled, full of wonder and inspirational people that I know. And I was talking to him multiple times, and I did a podcast with him that you guys can check out if you check out my podcasts. And on the podcast, we talked about truth. So he has 4 Chinese characters on his arm, and the top one is truth. And so what is truth, right? And what is the value of it? For me, I feel like the value of truth is living your truth. Being authentic to yourself. Being authentic to what you value at the deepest level and not what other people value, or trying to do things to impress people, or just do things to protect yourself, in essence. Like, I found myself sometimes taking action out of fear because, I'm afraid of telling the truth. I'm afraid of the consequences that come with telling the truth, either my truth or just the truth. Because I'm afraid that someone won't accept me, or I'm afraid that I'll lose a person, or I'll lose a deal, or I'll lose money. And it might create that inner feeling or propensity to either lie or not say the whole truth. And to me, I feel like if or when I do that, I lose a little part of myself. I don't feel it, doesn't sit right. It doesn't, and it almost leans more into that fear. It creates more fear. It creates more lying, or it creates more not truths or not the full truth. And I'll just speak for myself. When I live from a place of speaking the truth, I can be fulfilled. I can be courageous. I can sleep well every single night, knowing that I'm speaking the truth. And like, if someone is hurt in that process, or even if I could get hurt temporarily in that process, in the long term, like, it's always going to come back. And it's always going to work out in my favor and whoever is in front of me. Like, it's going to benefit everyone. Like, we're all going to rise up and lift up through the truth. So no matter how difficult it is to come out with the truth, it's so beautiful to speak the truth. I was just talking to Joe, he's our manufacturing partner, about, an experience that he had back in 2008. His business was, came to a halt in 2008. They manufacture trailers, like camping trailers, and no one was buying camping trailers. Like, no one had disposable income at that time. And swimming in debt, and no orders and employees and whole 9 yards. And a couple people recommended him. They're like, hey, why don't you just declare bankruptcy? And he said no. Like, I pay my debts. And so he called all the debtors. He called everyone that he owed money to. He called everyone and just told them the truth. And he worked his butt off. Like, he was working, geez, sounds like early mornings, late days to make it through that challenging time. And through that experience, not just through that experience, but now, you know, he has a company here that has, I forget what, somewhere between 100 and 200 employees. And a beautiful, thriving business and a beautiful culture in his company. Beautiful culture. And part of his company principles is to put others before yourself. And that's Joe's truth, right? That's his truth, and he lives by his truth, even through the difficult times. And by doing that, by continuously doing that, I can see that he lives with a sense of purpose and fulfillment and joy. And Joe's also a pastor, and he has a church here on his property where I'm staying. Beautiful place. The amount of good that he does. I mean, he works long days still. But there's a sense of pride in it, right? He's living his truth. And so between him and Master Don, who also lives his own truth, right? Like, what is his truth? For him, he loves living with a sense of wonder. He is a very honest and respectful person. And I admire both these men very much. And I continue on a daily basis to lean more and more into this and live my truth and put others, I don't know if I want to say put others before myself, because I don't know if that's my truth. But I think it's like looking after everyone's interests simultaneously, right? And being there to serve, right? Because when I'm serving others, I'm serving myself, and we're all serving together. And living with this truth of always doing what I believe is my truth, right? Even when challenging choices come. Instead of acting out of fear, acting out of courage. Making difficult choices that may have short-term consequences, but at the end of the day, as I mentioned, I think it all is so beautiful in the long run when we operate out of truth. So I ask you to contemplate, what is your truth? How can you stand in the face of your own fear, where it might feel a little uncomfortable to be in your own truth or speak the truth? And just like sit in that for a little bit. See what that feels like. Might feel a little scary. to look at your own truth and really operate out of your own truth, where you like know, like, hey, this is the way. Like, this is what feels right? This is like what feels good. This is what makes me feel like alive inside, or this is what makes me feel like peaceful inside. This is what makes me feel right, versus taking that very like kind of protected shell like thing. And to me, I think it's going to be different for everyone. Like, what does that really look like? What does your truth look like? I'm very curious. Like, some things that came through me was like, maybe someone has like a job that just like isn't aligned, but their fear is bubbling up and they're living not in their truth because of the fear of like, what if I, starve? What if this happens? But they're living so out of their truth. Maybe in a relationship that's not aligned, or maybe someone's telling an actual lie to someone because they're afraid of hurting them, or they're afraid of the consequences that will come back to themselves, so they might maintain a lie, and it just feels off inside. There's so many things that come up, and all of us have our own truth, like what feels right. So I challenge all of us to step more into truth, step more into being honest, step more into being truthful with others, and most importantly, let's be truth with ourselves. Let's be true to ourselves. What does that mean? Step into it and be it, live it, feel it. Because when we have truth, we have so much. When we have trust, we have so much. And I know a huge thing that opens us up to truth, and the real ability to be our own truth and say our own truth is trust. Because I feel like without that trust piece, it would be very difficult to operate out of truth, because that fear would take over, that protective mechanism would take over. And only with true trust that things work out. Only with true trust in God. And whenever I say God, guys, like, God is just a word, right? But it's not really what it is. So that's a whole nother topic. But for me, God is this feeling, is this emotion, is this trust. It's everything. And I feel like with this trust that everything happens and will happen for a reason, and I am taken care of no matter what. I bring my best energy every single day. The more I trust, the easier truth becomes. The more I can lean into my truths. The more I can be my most authentic self in every situation. The more I can say the things that are difficult to say. I appreciate y'all for being present, loving yourself, loving others, and most importantly, taking action on your trust, taking action on your truth. Because it's one thing to sit and philosophize about these things, and it's another thing to take action when things are a little scary. And the intention for me is to practice what I preach and take actions on my own truth and telling the truth, being honest, being vulnerable. Like Garen Jones. I was listening to Garen Jones. He's a very cool motivational speaker, and I've learned a thing or two by watching his videos. And you know, he talked about like apologizing to every single person that he hurt. Even like, you know, like I think he said one story of like, you know, apologizing to a person that had hurt him. And they're like, why are you apologizing to me? Like, I hurt you. And he's like, well, all the bad things that I wished upon you, like I apologize for that, for sending that energy. And it's like, wow, to be that radically I want to say truthful or authentic or just like open and vulnerable, right? Like most people would say you don't need to like say sorry for something that you thought about someone else. But he took it and he took action and continued to take action. And I don't know him personally, and you know, I can't really speak to who he is at the core foundation, but I know that there's a lot of truth that he speaks and a lot of wisdom that I've gained from it. And he's obviously built a culture of love. And so it's cool to see that, right? And understand that and draw some inspiration from it. So that was just on the point of taking action, right? Like these things that you learn, whether it's in this video or another video or a book or whatever it is, it's important that we take action on it. Tony Robbins talks about massive action, right? You learn something, you take massive action on it. So I appreciate you for tuning in, for learning, for growing, for taking massive action on anything that inspires you, that calls you, right? You don't need to like take massive action on this video just because like I said take massive action on this video, like, because right, we don't just listen to everything anyone says. But if you feel called, if you feel inspired, if there's something in this that struck you as like, wow, there's something here, I challenge you to take either a big step or a small step towards leaning into your trust and leaning into your truth. I love you, and I'll see you on the next video.